Welcome to another episode of Meet the Trendsetters, brought to you by Durabuild, a company that specializes in construction chemicals and brings you customized solutions to all your construction related problems. And what is important is that our solutions perform. Hi, I am Shubhashish Bhattacharya. Viewers, Meet the Trendsetters is a series in which we bring you the pioneers in the construction industry who, in their own way, are making a huge contribution to this industry that not only is revolutionizing the way the construction industry works, but also brings several important yet unforeseen benefits to the consumers. And they don't talk about themselves. That is why we believe that people need to know these silent trendsetters and their unique contributions. And this is our small effort towards it. Today, our guest is architect Nilanjan Bhowal, the man behind Go Green. Nilanjan Bhowal is one of the leading architects of India who believes design is nothing but placing habitat in nature. His passion for design and architecture made him open his own firm, Design Consortium, in 1995 after completing his Masters in Architecture from Catholic University, Belgium, specializing in human settlements. His vision is to create spaces that are exhilarating to experience while being functional and eco-friendly at the same time. His firm is involved in designing several residential, hospitality, and corporate building projects. He emphasizes on design element and makes an effort to keep environment sustainability as the basis of his all architectural creations. His design philosophy is minimalistic and inspired by nature. His works have been published in over 200 national and international magazines. Quality and dedication of work is evident from over 40 national and international awards achieved by the firm under his guidance. Few of such awards are Indian Institute of Architects Award, Institute of Indian Interior Designers Award, NDTV Design Awards, HUDCO Design Awards in 2014 and 16, TERI Award, IGBC Green Building Award, Excellence in Architecture Award in 2019 at Indo Expo, FOAD for Excellence in Architecture and Designs. These are only to name a few. He also received the JK Architect of the Year Award in 2010. Nilanjan, thank you for joining us in Meet the Trendsetters.
Thank you, Subhashish. This is a great initiative. Love to be here, and we look forward to a nice interaction.
Thank you very much. Nilanjan, when I was preparing for this interview, I visited several websites of different architectural firms. Now, most of the firms, the landing page opened with a statement like our designs or our projects are a result of blah 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 blah. Now, when I opened Design Consortium site, it had the tiniest introduction of you and then plunged into your projects, your team, etc. Is this deliberately done? Is there a purpose behind it? And what is the core philosophy behind Design Consortium?
See, a website is the image of the organization, and I am the founder and the thought behind Design Consortium, but it's a teamwork. Though we always acknowledge that, so every member is a part of it, and so it's the core philosophy of the organization which should come forward, and then when people go to the projects, they should be able to see how our philosophy is imbibed in all our projects. So it's not about me, about why we design. It's the why of our lives and why we have come to do what we do. So that's been the core philosophy of Design Consortium, which is inspired by nature, as you rightly captured.
Okay, great. Nilanjan, see, Nilanjan Bhowal today is a role model for many aspiring architects. Now, what did it take to become Nilanjan Bhowal, the role model?
Well, I think in all professions, it requires a lot of hard work in private practice. And I was fortunate that I could travel a lot. We have, being a Bengali, we had this travel bug. And from childhood, I used to travel a lot. So I was very close to nature. And I think that inspired me a lot, that when it came to arriving at a core philosophy of what my practice would be. It was not just building. Every architect builds. And I had to decide what direction my practice would take. And I decided it should be respecting nature. Whatever I put, that's why our core philosophy is putting a habitat in nature. It's not really any intrusive kind of construction that we do, but we want to place a habitat which merges with nature, is sustainable in longer runs, because there is no better way of healing than being in nature. We know that everything, especially more in the post-pandemic world, that how the nature has healed people gradually. So that was what the starting philosophy was, and gradually over the years we evolved this philosophy to such an extent that we have a lot of subscribers, a lot of students who follow this. In fact, I have coined this term called organitechture, which means projects which are inspired by the forces of nature, which are organic, natural, sustainable, yet it imbibes technology. So in organic texture, the tech comes from technology and it is architecture eventually. So something that is contemporary, inspired by technology, yet respects nature, traditions, customs, climate, everything. So that is, I would say, created a niche for us. We started this 25 years ago, this movement, and I think it's because of this niche domain that people like our work or come to us. I think that's been the reason why people have followed us so
Okay.
widely.
Okay. See, I have noticed most creative people have a signature style, right? And you are one of the most creative architects that I have known in my life. And I've known you for a long time, even when we were young and we used to get involved in club activities. I used to find your thoughts were always different. They were new, innovative. So, is this niche your signature style, or is there a different signature style that you have?
So, Subhashish, we go back close to 50 years, half a decade, half a century, it's a long time. And I
Yes,
remember when I got into architecture, you presented me with a book on architecture,
correct.
and that was the most encouraging thing that you did. And over the years, like I said, being part of nature has become a lifestyle for me. I spend a lot of time in nature. I go out, sketch, live there, and design while I'm part of it. Even in whichever context we get project, we worked in the Northeast, Far East. We have worked in Kashmir. We've worked down south in Kerala, Tamil Nadu. We worked in Goa, in the West Coast, Gujarat. Everywhere I have always designed while I stayed there. I've never sat in the studio and designed. And that has driven me to realize that I almost become a part of the context or the surroundings when I design. So the design flows very naturally. And my style, if you say, is minimalist. Because for me, architecture is, like I said, it's just placing a human habitat in nature. If you see how men evolved, human beings have built the most beautiful structures with minimal intervention or with artificial materials. What human beings naturally build is the most beautiful structure. Be it using stone or bamboo, mud or thatch, in whichever part of the world you go, human beings which are intuitively building their own habitat. And that is minimalist. I think, whatever you build using minimal resources, and it will be always sustainable in the long term. So that has been my core style and philosophy: minimalism, and inspired by nature.
So, what are the challenges and attraction both of being an architect?
Well, challenges are many because of this current trend of technology and the social media which is there. Most of our clients come armed with a lot of information. They come armed with a lot of Pinterest images, so to say, and they are already designers themselves. And the houses are the easiest to design. You know, if everyone feels, every client of ours feels well, they can design. That's a big challenge to break down those preconceptions, because it's not just walls or not good-looking images that we want to build. It's about creating spaces and how that will impact the lifestyle. That is the has been the biggest challenge. The attraction is, of course, that every day I'm doing a different thing. No 2 days my schedule is the same. Every day I'm designing something different. I'm talking to a new person. I'm designing a new situation. There's a huge amount of learning. There's a constant growth in me, I feel. When I go to a new culture, when I'm building in Manipur, I learn their local language, eat the local food, I stay there, learn the new construction technology. When I build in West Bengal in the interiors, learned about terracotta. So that's the most beautiful part of being an architect, that you can really learn throughout your life. It's a creative profession, so you can uh, create new spaces, new living areas, new habitat, whatever. You can create everything which will impact lives, which can transform lives. Uh, I think that's a huge responsibility as well. But we love that. Love doing.
See, you have done a wide variety of projects. I mean, you have done from houses to residential buildings to resorts to corporate buildings, commercial buildings, restoration projects, right? Now, how do you choose your project? I mean, is it something that comes your way and you do it, or you pick and choose?
So mostly clients come on their own through references, through publications or awards that we have got. People search, like people search for a doctor. They search for an architect, they ask for references, they ask their friends, somebody recommend. In the residential sector, in for institutions, schools that we do, or resorts, they look at social media, they look at several places, the publications, and they come and meet us, and there's a series of discussions. It's not that there's a straight away appointment. It's not even a very transactional relationship that we have. It's very much a lot of give and take. A lot of meetings take place when we try to understand each other. We don't sign up all the projects, all the clients that walk into our office, mm, because you realize that at certain point during our iterations, we try to understand the client, what he wants. His why is very important to me. Why is he building, be it a resort? Why is he creating a community project or a school? Is it purely profit driven? Is it for the community? So all those factors help us decide. And after a few discussions, we realize whether, it's like a marriage, I feel. The relationship between an architect and a client or the project is like a marriage. So it has to work. It has to last. So we are very careful about choosing our clients. And after a couple of discussions, one is able to figure out that you are right for them and they will be good clients for you. I think that has been the driving factor.
Nilanjan, the hallmark of Design Consortium has been its unique designs and the green and sustainable concepts that you have introduced in construction. How easy was it to market this green concept in India?
It was very tough in the beginning years, 1995, when after my post graduation in architecture, which was on energy conservation, and then also I did a second master's in urban human settlements. And it was difficult initially to convince the clients because they come with certain mindsets. For example, we've done work in Chhattisgarh. Chhattisgarh tourism in the state came about in 2004. And I remember the client, Minister of Tourism and other bureaucrats told us we want to make a five-star resort here, roundabouts development, a big hotel here. And I said, in Bastar, why do you want to create a resort? Why do you need a big hotel, five-star hotel? People should enjoy the nature. In the heart of Bastar, which is still a tribal area, and there's a beautiful waterfall called Chitrakoot. It's about 300-400 meters long. It's the Indian Niagara. I can tell you, it's so beautiful. It's 100 feet tall and some 300-400 feet wide. And I said, don't build anything here. Just build a campsite. They were quite shocked because bureaucrats, politicians, they love building big projects, obviously. But I got my way through the chief minister at that time, Mr. Ajit Kavi, who was very passionate about the environment, and I said, I will not destroy Bastar. So those are the challenges that I think as an architect, as a designer, we need to sensitize the clients that this is how you should build. Uh, Also, challenges are when people, we have to tell clients that, look, I put Italian marble. We've got so many different kinds of Indian marble which are as beautiful. We've been using it for centuries, using Indian materials, but in a more modern, contemporary way. It can still look very beautiful. So those are the challenges that we face daily. Way back in 1990, I think 1996 or 97, one of our earliest projects was a project in Jim Corbett, I remember. And also this client, who was fortunately a young adventurist, he had a nice 5-acre land. He said, let's build a simple resort. And we said, I've got a very small budget, 50 lakhs or so. I said, that's a lot. And we completed the project in 10 lakhs. So he was shocked, and most of my colleagues feel that I, bring down the project cost too much. Most architects love increasing the cost because their fee goes up, which is a percentage. For me, it's not like that. Because for this client in Corbett, I said, we will design only mud and thatch and bamboo and wood. Whatever is locally available, all the artisans were locally available, all the furniture was locally sourced. There were pots and charpais and everything. It runs on solar. It was one of the most beautiful resorts, I would say. When, in fact, we got this Green Building Award from IGBC, Indian Green Building Council. Dr. Jain, who was the pioneer, I showed him this Corbett project. I said, sir, can we get a post-completion kind of recognition for this, certification as a 5-star building? He said, Nilanjan, it's an insult to this building. You don't even have to register it. I can see it is green, it is sustainable, because there's no outside material that has been used into this project, no artificial material, just natural materials. People, and it's voted as the best jungle camp by the NDTV, Outlook Traveler, and all the different portals, travel portals. So that's always been a challenge convincing the client. But I'm sure these days clients are more sensitive. They do understand the value of respecting nature. Everyone wants to give back to the future generations. So it's always been a challenge convincing initially. And back in the olden days, maybe 25 years back, when I started the practice, it was tough. But Subhashish, I think we all have that responsibility as a professional.
Correct.
To choose what you want to do, how you want to do, what is the priority. It's the why of our lives which is very important. So once that is very clear, why we are doing what we are doing, we are able to convince all the clients. And all our projects, 100% projects are sustainable.
See, the beauty is, most of us are, I think, aware of our responsibilities, but very few of us are able to carry it forward. And that is where I really admire you. You have been able to carry it forward. Nilanjan, one more question that I have in my mind is, when we talk of green architecture, is it only about the material being used, or is there more to it?
So, green building is a system. It is also about a lifestyle. It's not that many people feel that it's only to do with plants, putting in plants. That's a very little part of a green building. A green building involves making a house which has minimum impact on the environment, and it consumes less than it uses or discharges into nature. So it consumes very little of the resources. For example, we generate our own power through solar. Even for heating waters, we use solar geysers. We conserve energy in every possible way by using LED 5-star rated fixtures. We insulate the house in such a way so that the air conditioning load is minimal. Maybe barring even in a hot place like Delhi, it's only the 2 humid months, maybe August and September, that you need air conditioning. Otherwise, we've done away with air conditioning in most of our projects. So we use insulated walls, insulate the roof, we use double glazed glass. Then there are other measures like recycling the water, harvesting, of course. We recycle all the grey water that comes out from the wash basins or the kitchen. We recycle all the organic waste. We recycle all the kitchen waste. We recycle even building materials. So all the old bricks that come out of demolished houses, we reuse that for under the floor layers. We use recycle all the wood which comes out from old buildings. So there's a whole process, and TERI and Indian Green Building Council are doing an excellent job, and they rate each initiative that you take in designing the building. So all these components go into, there is an energy analysis, do that climatological studies to make sure that the house doesn't consume any natural resource, minimal. So
Perfect.
that's how the green
Yeah.
concept evolved.
So it is not only environment friendly, it is also providing huge benefits to the consumers.
Of course, so the residents, the consumption is minimal. Of course, it means a slight bit of change in their lifestyle. But most of our people who have been living in those houses, they feel very nice, very healthy. Of course, we use plants, and in plantations, we use mostly indigenous plants. We don't import or use exotic outside plants. We use very little of grass, which consumes a lot of water. We use sometimes terrace gardens to insulate the floor below, water bodies, everything. It brings about a wellness in the people and all the inhabitants of that house. And in terms of all these measures, extra measures that you put in, it pays back within 3-4 years, and then your house is practically living free of cost.
Wonderful. Acha, Nilanjan, tell me something about your heritage restoration projects and what are the unique skills and competencies that Design Consortium possesses to execute these projects?
So conservation is also, as a philosophy, it's an extension of a sustainable design practice, because something that in conservation we restore the old buildings, their old existing status, and reuse them in an adaptive way. So it's a kind of sustainable practice. In conservation, some of the very notable projects we've done, there's some restored Havelis in Rajasthan. Of course, the NDTV award we got for the National Library in Kolkata. We got the NDTV award, also the HUDCO award for conservation. And there, this was built during the period of Warren Hastings, when he was the Viceroy General of India, and the capital was in Calcutta. And it was his personal house, the residence of the Viceroy General's house. And over time, it had decayed. It was converted into the National Library right after independence, but had been destroyed by mindless kind of interventions and things. And then the government, the Archaeological Survey of India, they floated a competition inviting ideas. So we gave a proposal and it was accepted, and it was kind of restoring that whole building. It's a huge building, about 5 lakh square feet, over a 25-acre campus, which also had a lake inside. So we've restored it to its old glory, and now the building is used for exhibitions. It's something like the India Habitat Center in Delhi. So there are exhibitions, there are concerts, there are big events that are held there, because inside the building during Warren Hastings' time, he had created a huge ballet hall, where there were ballets held when outside guests came to India. So we proposed that as a hall for concerts and exhibitions. So there were 3-4 big halls. So the whole idea of conservation is to restore our heritage, put them into a more contemporary use. I personally don't believe in keeping it fossilized in the past. Every building has to evolve. So similarly in Manipur, another very interesting project we did. This was a terracotta temple built in the 14th century, and the roof had collapsed, and it was made of terracotta. And when we arrived there, the roof was not there, and over subsequent earthquakes, because it's a seismic zone in Manipur, they had removed the deities. Govindji temple it was called, devoted to Sri Krishna. And then we searched for local artisans, Vishnupur and these areas where terracotta workers were still there. We brought them in, even from interiors of Manipur. And we found there were 16 different types of bricks that were used there. Different shaped bricks. They were all terracotta bricks, Terracotta is a fired brick. You fire it to a particular temperature, very high temperature, before it turns into glass or becomes vitrified, and it becomes very hard. So these bricks, they were wedge-shaped bricks which were used in columns. They were carved bricks which were used in architraves. So we had to, it took about 6 to 8 months of hard work there, and we gradually restored the dome. It had a huge dome roof. Now, of course, brick and mud has that limitation of making a roof. So we looked up, read a lot of places, lot of scriptures, and engineering things as to how to restore the roof and do it in mud. A huge dome in mud. We didn't want to use steel or concrete. That would have not been appropriate. So while traveling in Northeast, I saw people weaving these baskets, with cane. They make these baskets, very nice big baskets. So I saw a basket which is, if you invert it, it's like a dome. And I said, why don't we use bamboo as a reinforcement? So we created first a shuttering in that shape of the roof, put in bamboo, we tied the bamboo all around. And we then put it with mud, use mud and lime, which becomes a very strong mortar, and use bamboo as a reinforcement instead of steel. And we were praying that things would be fine after a month when we removed the shuttering. It's fine and it's existing. So that was a beautiful thing, and so much so that the people were so happy, the community around, they brought back those deities. This project also got the HUDCO award for conservation, even the Indian Architecture Award for Excellence in Conservation. And the biggest satisfaction for any architect is if people start reusing an old building for conservation. So people brought back those deities, and today it is back to a temple, and people are using it again. It's inside
Fascinating.
Anna Fort in Manipur, very beautiful terracotta. And that's the basic philosophy of conservation, to restore everything authentically. If we had used concrete, or if we had used any other contemporary material and kind of whitewashed it, like a lot of modern Havelis which are converted into hotels in Rajasthan, they make a brick structure or use concrete and make it look like lime from outside. So that is not really authentic conservation. There is a Charter of Venice which guides on the conservation processes. So India is a significant Charter of Venice. So we follow the authentic method, because in India we still have those artisans, we still have those materials, we still have that technology to recreate those old buildings. Of course, it requires some effort, a lot of hard work finding the right artisans, but that's, I feel, is the right philosophy towards conservation, that you conserve it authentically and give back the building to the community. So it's used.
Perfect. So you have an extensive range of diversified projects that you have done. Now, out of them, which is the closest to your heart?
Tough choice, Devashish, but yeah, we all have our favorite project. We love doing project at nice locations, and the most unexplored and beautiful location for me was Pahalgam in Kashmir. And we started this project in 2004 in the middle of insurgency. And why I like this project is it was a big challenge. When I went to make a presentation, this was also a national level competition. They invited architects from all over the country. And this site was on the banks of this river. There's a fast flowing river, and it has almost a half a kilometer frontage with the river. And when I went there, and it was a competition, none of the other participants actually visited the site before the design. So like I said, I always visit the site. I sat there and I said, this is too beautiful a site. And it was maybe a manifestation, whatever. And I diverted the river through the site, because it was a government project. We had that liberty. So we diverted the river through the site. So right now the river flows, the main course goes on, but we diverted a wide canal and then joined it back to the river. So from every place inside the resort, you can hear the river, you can feel it, you can see it, you can sense it, you can smell it. So right now the river goes through the site and back to and so all the conference halls, the meditation hall, the restaurant, banquet halls, everything, the residences, there's a club, there's a gym, spa, everything. It is all around that canal. And and it was like I said, when we went to make the presentation, there was firing going on. Anantnag and all these areas you have to pass. These are most sensitive areas, and Pelgaon is on the route from Srinagar to Amarnath, and it closes down for 2 months every year in August during the Amarnath Yatra. And so it was very tough, and probably because we took 10 years to complete, because there would be some incidents and projects would stop. 6 months it's covered with snow, for about 5 feet of snow it gets.
Wow.
So it took us long. And so that's why there was a lot of involvement. I kept going there and working on it. And now it has come up very beautifully, so much so that, Mufti ji, when he inaugurated 5 years back, when it was inaugurated, he invited us to do another similar project for Gulmarg because he liked the building so much. He was the chief minister at that time. And so I think that's been my favorite project because it's part of nature. We did not plaster the building, we did not use concrete, we used exposed brickwork, there was no plaster at all. And it merges with the environment. The roofs are green, the walls are brick. So it is, I think, a perfect setting. We've got recently an award for that building as well, IGBC award. But I think that's my favorite.
So, Nilanjan, you have achieved so much, right? Now, what is in the card in future? Are there any new concepts you are working on, any plans that you are rolling out?
Yeah, we are constantly evolving, and our biggest challenge is our own projects. The next project that we build should be better than the previous one. And we have, of course, like I said, Gulmarg will be the next thing. It's very, very beautiful. This club that is going to come up on a steep hill which overlooks the Gulmarg golf course. This is also a Kashmir tourism project. Once Kashmir opens up, it's already been designed, it's everything, they're appointed, the work has to just start. That will be a landmark project. But the other thing that we are doing is designing very interesting structures for remote locations, for the hills, where it's very difficult to transport materials. So these are dismantleable kind of pods, which they're shaped like cocoons. We've called it the cocoon and trademarked it. So it's like a cocoon, it's a shell kind of a structure, self-sustainable and self-supporting. And it can be transported to any site, it can be just nut bolted and fixed. And it can multiply horizontally, vertically, it can be stacked. And these will be very, very low cost, these pods. So I think that would be something new and using technology as well as respecting nature. I think it will be called pods.
Well, Nilanjan, thank you very much for coming to this episode of Meet the Trendsetter. And I must say, you are truly a trendsetter. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you. It was great talking to you, Subhashi. And I invite you to visit some of our projects.
Yes, I will definitely do. You know, my mouth was salivating as you were saying. So I'll definitely do that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you
having
very
me.
much. Bye.
Bye-bye.